Tired of arguing and having the same drawn out fights? If you want to learn how to confront a problem and stop the argument, please listen in. Hi, I'm Carol Bettino, psychotherapist and the author of Better Choices, Better Life, and Directions, Your Roadmap to Happiness. I'd like to share a letter from Jennifer. She said, Carol, what are your thoughts on when your partner continually compares you to his ex? When I ask him why he does it, he makes excuses why he is comparing me. Or he puts it back on me in a negative way, saying I'm insecure and I need to stop being too sensitive and just get over it. I've tried to confront him, but I'm getting nowhere. I'm tired. Please give me some pointers. Okay, well, the first point I'd like to make is stop trying. We have a tendency to program our brain to believe that if we try something, we can do it. I would tell you to start programming your brain to say, I will do it or I won't do it. I want to do it or I don't want to do it. Not that I'm going to try to do something. You don't try to get off the couch. You get up off the couch. So program your brain in a more positive way by taking ownership and responsibility for what it is you want. So first, stop trying to change him, but confront the problem. The second point I'd like to make is we should never really ask questions if we don't really care about the answer. In other words, you would not ask somebody who's being disrespectful to you, why are you doing that to me? I mean, what happens if their answer is because I want to? What happens if their answer is, I think you deserve it? It doesn't matter why they do it. What matters is that you won't allow them to do it. So I think the most important thing there is to confront it and confront it right away and be able to say, I don't care, why he's doing it. What I care about is what I need to do. So that's very, very important. So it's important for you to maybe just make a very simple statement as, I would like you to stop that. That is disrespectful. Now, that doesn't always go well because remember, when we set boundaries with people who don't respect boundaries, it doesn't change them. What it changes is you, that you make the decision to say, I'm no longer willing to accept that kind of behavior. And then you have to decide how you want to deal with that. Now, the third point that I'd like to make is you need to discuss an issue like this before it happens again. You know he's done it multiple times because your letter said that you're tired of it and you've tried to confront him, but you get nowhere. And sometimes it's how we confront the person. So what I'd like to say is choose the right opportunity to discuss it. Usually it's a time when things are going well, not just before you get to go to bed. Not after a person's been drinking or using some mood-altering substance. And definitely not at a time when you have just finished an argument. When things are going well, start off with something like, I really need to talk to you about something and I'd appreciate if you would just give me a few minutes and listen. At that point, be assertive. I don't care if you're talking about a friend, a family member, or your partner, your spouse, a coworker. When we are going to stand up for ourselves and set a boundary with somebody, we need to be assertive. Use the broken record if you need to because you don't want to get drawn in and have them scapegoat or gaslight you. The other is don't personalize things. When you do that, it is too easy for you to feel the need to defend yourself, try to get the person to understand, and explain yourself to the point where you're overselling. If you don't convince yourself you have a right to stand up for yourself, how are you going to convince somebody else to think that you have the right to stand up for yourself? And the other is you need to set a boundary. And if appropriate, there's a consequence. Now, what I thought the best way to illustrate the letter is I made up a little skit. So I'm going to read the skit, and I'll play both parts, Jennifer, and we're going to call him John. So Jennifer starts off with, when you compare me to your ex, I find it disrespectful and hurtful, and I'm asking you not to do that anymore. Oh, you are so insecure. I'm just making a point. I'm still asking you to stop comparing me. Oh, you're just too sensitive. I'm asking you to please stop comparing me. What's the big deal? I am just trying to get you to see how ridiculous you can get. John, I'm still asking you to stop comparing me. Oh, you know what? Forget it. You overreact about everything and you make everything about you and it's always a big deal. You know what? Just forget it. I just won't even say anything anymore. As far as I'm concerned, I'm not going to talk. That is not what I said. I asked you to stop comparing me. The next time you do it, I'm not going to stand here and just listen. I am going to walk away. You know how I feel, so please stop. Oh, fine, whatever. So dramatic. Now, notice that took less than a minute. And why? Was because there was no drama in it. I did not give him the opportunity to pull me in, drag me in, and make me somehow feel as if I didn't have the right to stand up for myself. Now, it's tempting when they start saying things like, well, you overreact about everything. You want to come back and say, that's not true. But then all you do is you open yourself up to more of an argument or a fight. So I think the important thing is don't personalize. You won't get drawn in, regardless how tempting it is. You'll tend to become passive or passive aggressive or even get aggressive. And that's when the fight ensues. And that gets you nowhere. That's why the same argument of him comparing you continues to go on. Assertive communication is the other point. I showed you how to use the broken record technique. No matter how tempting it was, I stuck with, I'm asking you not. See, and that's the important part, is I'm asking you not to compare me. It is disrespectful. I'm letting him know how I feel, and if I have to say it however many times, I will, but there will be a point when I will end that conversation. Even if he continues, I would just say, I'm not going to discuss this any further. I don't appreciate you doing that, and I'd like you to stop, and you walk away. Now, setting boundaries, you have to be the one who's going to decide what you're going to tolerate and what you won't. You know, if you're not going to accept him comparing you, then you can't stand there and have this conversation with the broken record technique over and over and over again. You have to get to the point where you have to know when it's time to walk out of the room or hang up. And if it's definitely a text, you just need to ignore it and then just delete it. Now, keep in mind when we set boundaries, it's really not about changing the other person. It's about standing up for yourself and following through and being honest with yourself of what you will accept and what you won't, and what consequences that you would be willing to give. But if you're going to give something that is meaningless because you're not going to follow through, don't waste your energy. So thank you for a great question. But that leads me now to want to be able to talk about every relationship is going to have disagreements and arguments, you know, whether it's a friend of yours or if you're, you know, your parent or your adult child or even a sibling. It can happen with coworkers. It's not just partners when we talk about a partner or a spouse. But it doesn't have to turn into an ugly, drama-filled fight. And you're the one who controls that. Now, if you control it and your partner controls it, you can then use a timeout. Timeouts are not punishments. They're really an opportunity to kind of go in your separate corners and just think about how you want to handle it. And then once you can let that go, it's so much easier to walk back into the room and talk about it. Or even say, hey, look, I'm really sorry. Now, you know, one of my rules is you don't fight over text. I think it is so unhealthy, so immature. It is absolutely one of those things that it just goes nowhere. So avoid that. Now, when you set boundaries as well in this, I would like you to realize that you don't focus on the problem or the person or personalize it. You focus on the solution. What can I do to make this better? How can we let this go? It is okay to defend yourself, but don't get hung up in trying to explain and get into that other part where you're trying to get this person to understand and all you're doing is getting angry and frustrated, and so are they. So avoid that. So, a couple of do's and don'ts that I would mention about what to accept when you're dealing with problems in a relationship, because they do come. No relationship is without it. We're just wanting a healthy one. We want to be able to have a friendship or have a relationship with someone where we enjoy each other's company. So the disagreements need to be minor and they need to be brief. And we need to get over them and not carry them. Otherwise, I got news for you. You can leave this relationship, and if you don't make the changes you need to make, you are going to go back into another relationship and probably pick somebody similar, and you're probably going to do the same things you did, and you're going to start all over again. So start in a place that says, I need to communicate, I need to stand up for myself, I need to set boundaries, and I need and expect to be respected. And having somebody compare you with your ex is definitely not respect at all. So let's go over some of the things what to accept in a relationship and how to deal with some of the problems. One is always speak in a respectful tone. I want you to think that if you focus on the fact that if somebody was coming to me and confronting me about a problem that I did wrong, I don't want to hear them start out with some negative comment or a curse or putting me down, because I'm not going to listen. So you want the other person to hear what you're saying. So speak in a respectful way, watch your body language, your tone, have a positive attitude. The other is you do not, under any circumstances, yell, scream, curse, avoid the condescending tones and remarks. Don't say mean or hurtful things. And don't be intimidating or shaming. If you feel like you are going to get that way, or you feel your partner is going to get that way, remember the code word. Use a code word, and all that means is you're protecting each other. You're supporting each other. You're helping each other. So if the person uses the code word, I don't care if the code word is pineapple, you just say thank you and kind of go your separate way for a few minutes until you can work things out. The other is to be honest with your feelings. So many times people will say things, well, I don't care. It doesn't matter to me. All right, do whatever you want. And then they're angry afterwards. It's so important to just be honest with the way you feel and what you need. So say things like, when you compared me to your ex, I felt hurt because I felt it was disrespectful. And what I really need from you is don't do that to me anymore. That's it. Keep it simple. Now, again, I may say this is simple, but I'm saying what to say it is simple. How a person reacts, remember, is about them. That's why we don't personalize. The other is when you confront your problems, do it assertively. Identify what the problem is, and discuss when it's a good time for you both to talk about it. If you need to take a time out, you can take one up to 30 minutes to cool down. Maybe stick your head in a pillow and curse, take a shower, walk around the block, do some jumping jacks, whatever you need to do. Avoid words. Do not use those words like always, never, all of the time, because you act like a victim when you do that. And it also sets the other person up to become defensive. The other is when you disagree, learn to fight fair. It's really can be a disagreement. It becomes a fight when two people don't know how to control themselves and don't know how to deal with their feelings or their needs or their wants. So sometimes just say, can we just take a break? I really need to think this through and talk about it. It may sound corny at first, but in the long run, you'll find it to be very helpful. So to fight fair and not fight. Don't bring up the past unless, of course, it's pertinent, like it just happened last week. Don't criticize, don't blame. Avoid that silent treatment that is so emotionally immature. No sulking, no shaming techniques, because all of them are manipulative. Well, it comes to the end, so I would like to end with one of my affirmational quotes. And it's, I will stand up for myself and not be intimidated or bullied by those who are threatened by my assertiveness. I want to thank you for listening, and please share this podcast with others, especially on your social media. And by all means, I love the comments. Please send the comments, and don't forget, if you need to, send me something of a question, and I'll do my best to answer it. Have a great day, and make better choices, and avoid the drama.